Twits and Twats. The engines were being cleaned and polished for the day. And by cleaned and polished, I of course mean squirted with fairy liquid and sprayed with the hose. Old Stuck-Up was going out first. He grumbled as the workman scrubbed the detergent off his face. "We've got visitors today," said his driver. The other engines rolled their eyes. "We get 'em every day, you plonker," grunted Spamcan. "But these are special," said the driver. "One takes moving pictures, and the other writes books." "Moving pictures?" snorted Old Stuck-Up. "Oh, come on. Just because we're anthropomorphic locomotives, that doesn't mean we don't know what a bloody film is. Don't patronize us." "Stick an oil drum in it, you," snapped the driver. "The controller really wants these visitors treated well, and that sort of attitude won't help matters, so mind you behave." "Oh, come on," snorted his engine. "What's the worst that could happen?" The visitors were media folk. One, an author with a greyish beard, the other, a producer with bright red hair. They arrived in a little red car at the big fat station. They shook hands with Old Stuck-Up's driver, who had done his best not to pull his own hand away and blow a raspberry. "Our controller," he told them, "says you can ride with me in the cab if you like." "Thank you," said the greyish author, "but may we come later, please? My colleague and I would like to examine the main line before the weather turns." Then they talked to Old Stuck-Up and told him how smart he looked. "These visitors," he thought, "know at least how to speak to engines, with unquestioning flattery." He rolled away, feeling even more stuck up than usual. Whenever the line came near the road, crossings, bridges, stations, the car's faulty steering, there the two media folk were, squinting into binoculars and video cameras. Old Stuck-Up began to find this rather upsetting. "They might wave at an engine," he complained, "or at the very least bow down in his presence." "They can't worship you and get good pictures," said his driver. Old Stuck-Up knew this well, but he didn't give a toss. He wanted his praise, dagnabbit. Boom, boom. The little red car spluttered past them once more, but Old Stuck-Up made no reply. "They'll be at the drain next," said his driver. The drain is a filthy side road. It runs for a short distance alongside the railway and a chemical plant. There is no fence, as fences cost money, and we all know what the thin git is like with cash by this point, don't we? The greyish author sat in the car while the red producer waited with her camera. She shot her footage, jumped back in, and off they went, racing the train to the drain's end. "For Ford's sake, can we stop soon?" spluttered the car. "All this chasing is getting me hot and bothered. My circuits are fusing like nobody's business." Unfortunately, just as they passed Old Stuck-Up, they went through an acid puddle. Sloosh! Acid rain splashed over the diesel. "Ah!" he exclaimed, but the media folk didn't know. They were ahead and out of the car. Frowning, they waited for Old Stuck-Up to catch up. He didn't smile for the camera. "They did it on purpose," he snorted crossly, and fumed all the way to the last station. "They splashed me! They splashed me!" he hissed as workmen tried to neutralize the burns. "Some film star I'd be, looking like the elephant engine." He growled crossly when the red producer climbed in his cab for the journey back. The greyish author would have come too, but the acid puddle had dissolved one of the car's tires, and he had to get it fixed. "Driver oughtn't to allow her, after what she's done," growled the diesel. Suddenly, he let loose a burst of noxious fumes. Whoosh! "I know," he thought, "how to pay the ginger tart out. It's a lovely plan, a delicious plan. I only wish the beardy git was there too," he said. But he said it to himself, and even if he didn't, his driver and the red producer were too busy flirting with each other to notice. Old Stuck-Up ran nicely, only 10 minutes behind schedule, until they reached the chemical plant again. The dark clouds were swelling, and the diesel deliberately dawdled. "Come on," said his driver, pouring on the gas. This was just what old Stuck-Up wanted. "Tits and twats, tits and twats," he shouted, letting loose an enormous burst of noxious fumes. The gases rose high into the air and combined with the chemical-induced clouds. A few seconds later, an absolute torrent of acidic liquid poured to the ground. Showers ate through old Stuck-Up's roof and began flooding his cab. The soaking did not stop until the driver and the hysterical producer cranked the engine to full speed and escaped the industrial complex. The thin git soon found out what had happened after the red producer smacked him upside the head with her handbag.
"Your bloody engine nearly killed me,"
she screamed, an old oil barrel worn over her half-dissolved dress. The Grayish author was furious too. "Your lack of safety precautions ruined our car," he protested. "And when I asked your men for assistance, they just insulted me and threw heavy objects at us. This is the worst railway we've ever had the misfortune to visit." The thin git was livid. He sent old Stuck-Up to the shed, or what was left of him after his acid shower.
"You are a very... Oh, Jesus Christ, I can't even think of an appropriate insult, I'm so mad,"
he bellowed.
They splashed me,"
faltered old Stuck-Up.
"That's no bloody excuse,"
roared the thin git.
"I invited these media people here to try and convince everyone that this was a nice, normal railway, and what do? Nearly drown one of them in an acid bath. My only consolation is that things can't possibly get any worse."
Unable to form another sentence, he turned on his heel and stormed off. Next day, the engines were being prepared for another day's half-hearted work. Old Stuck-Up was still complaining as the workmen put him back together.
"Those visitors were nuts," he told them. "They came and said sorry before they left. Then I said sorry they were so ugly, and then I blew my last fumes in their faces. They know bugger all about engines," he went on. "The beardy git said he was going to write something or other and promised to do something to all of us. What do you think of that?"
"I think your mouth should have melted too," grumbled Diesel. The engine's bitching was suddenly interrupted when the thin git approached the sheds.
"What are you doing here, sir?"
asked Derek.
"Sir?"
The thin git said nothing. His eyes were wide and his face was pale. Well, paler than normal. "Spit it out, sir," said Bowler. The thin git held up a note in his quivering hand.
"It's the inspector," he said simply. "He wants to conduct an investigation next week. We're being sued."